The Elgin Police Department is dedicated to working in partnership with the community to promote safety and enhance the quality of life by serving with professionalism, encouraging open communication, and embracing diversity.
Engaged.
Partnering with our citizens and involved in our community.
Progressive.
Embracing innovative strategies while maintaining proven practices.
Dedicated.
Serving with integrity and professionalism. Elgin became an incorporated city in 1854 and installed its first police marshal, George W. Renwick. Over the years, the title of the head law enforcement officer changed from marshal to chief. And although the role has expanded, one duty has remained consistent: to ensure law and order for the citizens of Elgin.
It's time now for Fridays with the Finest, featuring Elgin's current police chief, Anna Lally, on Elgin's hometown radio station since 1949, WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
And good morning, everybody. We are back, WRMN 1410, right here, live in Studio 14, of course, with Chief Anna Lally. How you doing today, Chief? What's going on?
Not too much. How are you?
I couldn't be better. Thank you.
Good. So I can't see us. Usually, I see us on the screen there. So
Let me make that transition. There you go.
There we go. All right. So good. Everything is good, and I don't have anything really planned today for today's show. So just kind of some stuff I want to talk about a little bit, and kind of if anyone has any questions, if anyone wants to call in, more than happy to take questions.
And they could call in at 847-931-1410. That's our call-in line, 847-931-1410. But, I don't even want to put the jinx on anything, but it has been extremely quiet.
Yeah.
Me looking at all the blogs and all the websites and all the what's happenings and what's going on. So God bless you, and let's leave it that way.
Is this
are
real
going
wood?
Good. Yeah, it's underneath it is.
Yeah, no. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. I'm gonna, it's a good time to, we're towards the end of July here. Talk a little bit about our crime stats. Kind of, to your point. I think the number one thing is our shots fired incidents are down. So this year we're at 16 compared to 38 at this time last year, and we just made an arrest for the July 9th incident. July 9th, it was the 600 block of Raymond Street, and there was a report of shots fired. Our detectives do, amazing work, and we were able to make an arrest for aggravated discharge of a firearm, unlawful use of a weapon by a street gang member, and some additional felony charges. So, really quick turnaround, 10, 15 days, and the detectives are making arrests. Those 16 cases, several arrests have been made. All that information is available on our transparency site. You can, go on there. You can follow up on cases. You can see where our stats are, where our numbers are at. I think it's important to, when, again, I could be here next week and it could be double that. I could be here next week and it could be, less than where we were. So I think it's always just important to talk about it, whether or not it's good or bad.
Well, a lot of larger cities, what I've been looking at, and even listening on the news with the city of Chicago, they claim that their crime is down.
Yeah.
So it's not just juggling of the statistics, correct? Because you have it firsthand.
Yeah.
It's that things are either people are getting the hint and understanding that, hey, the police are there. Not just there is to arrest you and grab you, but the police are there to help you.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of times when we talk about crime and we talk about crime stats and why crime happens, it is so complex. There are times during COVID, for example, we saw retail theft crimes are non-existent. Well, the reason for it is not because people stopped committing retail theft; it's because the stores aren't open. If you have a drug unit, a narcotics unit, and they're going out and making some really proactive arrests, your drug crime numbers in your stats are going to inherently go up. That's not because there's more drug crime. That's because there's more arrests. The drug crime might be the same, right? So I think it's important to have those conversations and always talk about the why. So for our listeners, you can go on our transparency site, our crime stats we publish every single month. I do have, I want to give the some information about the crime stats. and really kind of just looking at where things are this year compared to last year. And I think again, crime goes up, crime goes down. There's a lot of reasons why that happens. But overall, so the way that the police department categorizes crime stats are in Group A and Group B offenses. And we use something called NIBRS, which is the National Incident-Based Reporting System. And, we used to use something called the UCR, the Uniform Crime Reports. NIBRS is a little bit different because what it will do is if you have a criminal offense, somebody commits I'm walking down the street and somebody punches me, somebody strikes me, then they take my bag or whatever the case may be. So, there's multiple types of offenses happening in that incident. NIBRS would just collect the one incident. The UCR would just collect the highest incident, whereas NIBRS collects each one of those individual incidents.
Well, it gives you deeper analytics.
And it's actually a better representation of crime happening throughout the city. So we transitioned to NIBRS about 4 or 5 years ago. And so it's a better way to, and there's also the unknown amount of crime that people don't report. So we get this a lot during fireworks, right? So I just took a call this week from a citizen, and we were talking about fireworks and what was going on in the city. And, some of that information, anecdotally, I've heard people say it was much better this year. And then I've had people say it was much worse this year. And so, when we look at the numbers, where are we at? Our fireworks calls for service were slightly up, but more so on the 4th of July. Whereas years past, it was every day leading up to the 4th of July.
And even after to get rid of
So
whatever.
the day of, it's expected.
Yeah.
So that's good and bad, right? So, but anecdotally, people may say, "Wow, it was," and how are they gauging that? By where you live, right? So if I'm living in a neighborhood where no one is shooting off fireworks, I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, everything's great." I don't know what people are, what's the problem? And then if you're living in a neighborhood where your neighbors are blowing off fireworks starting June 1st and it goes through August 1st, you're going to be like, what is going on? So, the numbers are the numbers, and then it's the why. It's the data analysis. It's the deeper dive. And I think it's important that the community have access to that information, which is why we publish our crime stats. Always available to have the conversation, but also understanding the more sociological factors that affect crime that are sometimes out of the purview of a police department, and I think you see that a lot with domestic violence incidents. Every year, Joanne Stingley, who everybody knows, who runs our social services division, Joanne will come on here and talk a little bit about domestic violence. And, our calls have been spiking, have been going up, and I don't know where we're at year to date. In October, we usually come on here and really kind of do a deep dive. But that type of offense, if someone is in a relationship where there is domestic violence, those incidents could be happening for months and months and months before the person decides to call. So those crimes have been committed.
Right.
They're just not being reported. And then you have the other side of, how can the police impact that type of crime, right? So when you think about how are you proactive? Well, there's a couple of things that we can do: awareness, education, being resources, being advocates. That's all good stuff. But the second part, there's no visible deterrent that a police officer could do because we're not inside people's homes. So this is where, understanding the nature of crime and why it occurs. But back to, where we're at for the year. So again, we categorize Group A offenses, which are your most serious, and then your Group B, which are the less serious. The Group A is kind of the hallmark of more where communities will look and say, where and how are we doing? So year to date, and so through June of 2025, we have had 2,153 Group A offenses. So that's everything from robbery to weapon law offenses to larceny, theft, to burglaries, so more serious crimes. Last year, through June of 2024, we were at 2,298 offenses. So we are at a 6% decrease from where we were last year, right, which is very good. And again, Elgin is continuing this 50-plus year, low crime trend. You will see some spikes, but, we're a 6% decrease from where we were last year, which is really great. And I think, again, we can end the month of July, at a 6% increase. But I think when you look at some of the things, and in particular, when I talked about the weapons, our shots fired.
Right.
In June of 2024, we were at 44 weapon law violation offenses, and this year we're at 25. So that's a 43% decrease. And so, and I've been asked, because especially our shots fired data, has been so, low from last year and some of the years before, what are you guys doing differently? And, myself and my crime analyst, Ryan Drake, had a conversation. That's you. I was like, wait, okay, all right. If you got to take the call, go for it. But my crime analyst and I had a conversation about, what is going on. And so he's doing that deep dive for me where we can kind of look and see, did we make a significant arrest of people that were potentially involved in these weapon law violations and these criminal violations? And did that arrest impact, because it's kind of, your sphere of influence, so if I'm involved in those type of incidents and I'm getting arrested, you're cutting out, your sphere of influence and those, kind of connections. So, we continue to have the same philosophy. We always talk about it. We adjust some of our strategies, but it will be interesting to kind of see, what have we done maybe, in terms of people being arrested and what type of arrest. Or, again, there is a part of crime that is unpredictable, and that's really because crime is committed by humans, and human behavior is unpredictable. So you may have somebody that ages out of crime, right? You may have somebody that, maybe they had a substance abuse, issue going on, and they've received, they're in treatment, or they're, the reason why they were committing crime is because they needed money, right? So it's not necessarily a crime is committed because they're, some people are committing crime because they're, supporting living. When people are shoplifting, very few people you're going to find who are shoplifting because they do it for the enjoyment of shoplifting, right? They're doing it because there's a necessity. It's a need. So, did that person, get a job? Did they, are they having access to funds now? Is there something more going on? So I think,
I would think like your domestic issues as well. The economy has to play a big part.
Oh,
of that.
yeah.
Your husband or wife or both are out working, still not bringing enough home. You have a family to raise. Tensions spark.
Yeah.
You don't have enough to run the air conditioner in the house because you got to keep the electric down low. Of course, everyone's going to get hot-headed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great analogy of that, of like, it's not just this, if this is happening, then this is going to happen. You might have people who are in those predicaments and they're not committing crime.
Right.
Sometimes, some of our incidents where it's a crime of opportunity, right? If you and I have some problem going on and, we have this personal, drama going on, and I see you, and all of a sudden, by chance, I just happen to see you, and tempers flare and things happen. Now all of a sudden we're fighting, right? Like, had I not seen you, I probably wouldn't have been committing that offense. That's an opportunity, crime of opportunity, right?
So we're good now. We resolved.
Oh yes,
our
we're
issue.
good. Yeah, no,
Okay,
we're not going to be. I'm not going to be
good.
fighting anyone
I
on
wanna
the
make
street.
sure
No,
on
no,
the,
no,
on the
no.
radio, you're not.
Oh no, because somebody just gets that one snippet, and
Yeah.
the chief is fighting with him. No. I'm a very peaceful person. So I think that's the the other I think issue, and so it's really important to me that people understand where we're at, and we will continue to look at that at those numbers. Our motor vehicle thefts are down 38% from where we were last year. Again, our robbery offenses are down 11%.
Wow.
So we do, again, you see some of these things. Our homicide offenses in June from last year, we had 3 homicides at June of 2024. This year, we're at 1 homicide offense. Again, I think the most important thing is that the community has access to this data and that they ask questions. And, every year, we release our annual report, and, we look at the crime trends, and we look at, where are we at, our shots fired data. If we stay on this trend, we're at 16 and we're almost to August. If we stay on this trend, this will be one of the lowest years for shots fired data.
Excellent.
And, now I say that now it's July, but if we stay on the trend and talking with my crime analysts and like forecasting just, based on averages, but then again, and that's a great thing, right? So when I have to come on here in January of 2026 and talk about crime stats, what a great thing, instead of having to talk about how our gun offenses are up. Because I will tell you, a lot of times, and you had callers that would call in and have questions about it, or they're on our social media. And, so I think it's also important that, the good work and and again, it's very fickle. It could change at any moment.
And again, just to reiterate, all these statistics that you're reading off, when you're just reading off
Yep.
a sheet that anybody could access.
Yes. Yep. So if you go to our transparency site, scroll to the bottom, and it will say crime stats, monthly crime stats. You click that, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. They're updated every month, and I think that those are the that's why we have a transparency site, right? Putting crime. What good does it do a community if you wait to the end of the year to release your crime stats?
Yeah.
People are going to say, okay, well, that's great. That's the past. Like, what strategy could we have done? And again, if the police department is not engaging in that conversation with the community, where they have access to the same information, your strategy is purely what you believe and what you think. Whereas if you incorporate multiple perspectives, all right, here you go. Like, tell us what you guys are thinking. Here's what we're thinking. Yes, we are the subject matter experts, but you're the community, right? So, what are things that you think that we can help to do better? And I think that is the true hallmark of a police department that talks about community engagement, talks about transparency. What is the access to the data that you are saying to the public? And for me, again, when we created that transparency hub, that was the question that that I would, as a community member, I was anticipating. Someone's going to ask me as the police chief, okay, you talk about transparency, access to, but I don't even know what our crime data is, right? So, you can't, you got to kind of walk the walk. And so part of that is, making sure that people know where to find it. It's updated, it's timely, and then making sure people, continue the conversation throughout the year.
But on those statistics, everybody wants to hear, especially news media, because that's what sells, all the hype of all the tragedy, all the negativity. That's still a lower percentage of all the other calls put together, would you not say?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
And what do you have, like, as far as, do you get a lot of, oh, they're parked on my grass, oh, he's making too much noise?
Yes.
Do you get a lot of those calls?
Yes, we
as
do.
well?
And those are what you would consider your nuisance problems, your quality of life problems. And those are the ones that you really do hear more about. People that are, fireworks. I was on the phone with a community member, for 45 minutes the other day, and that to her is very important, right? Because in her neighborhood, it is, it's more prevalent, right? And but we do get those calls. My neighbor's loud music, people are parking on, and those nuisance problems are what bothers people more because it's what you see.
Have those been those? You're the sixth largest state
Yeah.
of Illinois, and when I was looking at the statistics, even though that's why I bring up the petty
Yeah,
or
the
nuisance
petty offense.
calls,
Mhm.
okay, they're still low by
Yes. Oh,
comparison.
God,
and
yes.
I would attribute that
Yeah.
to, again, community policing.
Yes.
By
Yeah.
your officers, the way they've engaged in
Yes.
the community. You've got a acronym for every group out
Yes,
there.
we do.
Because you've started so many initiatives, and I'm not just doing this to give you the old, pat on the back,
No,
like,
no,
hey,
no.
chief.
No.
But sincerely, you have a group for everything that it engages the community.
Yeah.
If they have a problem, all they have to do is make the call, and you'll send somebody. You took 45 minutes
Yeah.
on a phone call.
Yes, I did. I mean,
About fireworks.
Yes, about fireworks. And
And again, it's no more important than the other thing.
No.
Because to that person, that was paramount to them.
Oh, and I think you have to you have to realize that what's important to people is important to people. It's not for me to say, no, that's. I mean, if this is what you are living, this is your reality. Your neighbor is rude and they won't turn their radio down. They're blowing off fireworks, and you got to get up to work at 4:00 in the morning. Like, that's important to you, right? Now, to some people, whatever. I'm retired. I don't really care when I stay up. I don't really care. Like, people don't. It's just so. I think when you're in tune with, and again, it all boils down just to a core sense of like humanity, right? Understanding people as people, right? And what is it that I can do for this situation to make this person's situation, their life better? And when you come from that place, to me, that's fine. I mean, I'll talk 2 hours with somebody about something because to me, I understand that that's important to them. Right. And it's not for me to gauge, to judge, to dismiss, to minimize. It's for me to say, got it. Now what can I do to make, to try to make it better for them? So So yeah, I wanted to mention that. There's a couple other things I want to talk about. It is yesterday. We hired 10 new officers. So the Elgin Police Department. We and I've talked about this. My city manager and my council, which are extremely supportive, allow me to overhire because it takes by the time. So yesterday I swear in 10 new officers. By the time you will actually see them in a Elgin police vehicle answering your calls, it's about 1 year.
Wow.
So, anticipating some retirements, and again, this is part of like understanding the organization, understanding, what it is that the needs are. So we have people waiting in the wings. So when people retire, and I've had some recent groups retiring, and I have probably another batch coming, we're staffed, right? And the officers, because it takes 1 year. So I want to say congratulations to our 10 newest officers. Again, I meet with them before I swear them in, and, very young, 21, 22, 23. I was 21 when I got hired. But when you sit there and and I always ask them, why do you want to be a police officer? Why are you sitting in this chair today? And I will tell you, it's just, it's really that kind of higher calling. I want to make a difference. I want to give back. I want one officer, I was really impressed. I want to have a sense of purpose in my life. This is a young 20-year-old saying, I want to have a sense of purpose in my life.
Wow.
Right? The depth of that, type of thinking, usually people get a little bit older and they start thinking about what was my purpose in life? Like, what did I do here? Right? So I love that, right? Like, because I think that type of mentality, the sooner you get that, right? And I think, when I was a very young officer, that was my mentality,
There's been a focus really in the world of quality of life.
Yes.
What are you doing with your life? What's going on? Is this really that important?
Yes.
And then to have someone like you're saying, new officer that says, I want to leave a nice mark.
Yeah.
I don't want to just say, yeah, I did 20 years, I got my pension, I'm out.
Yeah.
I want to be able to say, you know what, I was part of that program, part of the new dozen acronyms they're going to add.
Oh, yeah.
How great would that be?
Well, that's, I think, too. It's like, when you think about your career and you think about your time, and, it's really incumbent upon us and the generation, the officers that do have these, time on and experience to share that. I mean, I will tell you that when I was a young officer, it wasn't shared. It was this very kind of like, when I was a young police officer, the culture was very different. And, it was very, this is what our job is. You don't show any emotion.
This is the way we've done it for 20 years.
This is what it is, and there's no conversation, and you acclimate to the environment, right? But you don't lose yourself in the environment, right? So for me, I was always like, well, yeah, I mean, we got to do what we're going to do here, but you have to have that sense of like, I'm here because I want to make somebody's life better. And I tell the young officers all the time, people will go through life and they will never get an opportunity to change someone's life for the better.
Right.
And when you get that chance every single day, that is a gift, right? And when you do it, and when somebody says to you, first of all, you do it because you feel that way, because you want to do that, not because you want the accolades or the awards or people to say thank you. And if you get that, that's just the extra bonus, right? That's the extra gift. So, I think the mentality, especially, this is a very, I wouldn't say it's a difficult profession. It's not difficult. If you understand what we're here for, and you understand, what you need to know, it's not difficult. The difficult comes in with the human part of it.
It's
right?
a rewarding profession.
It's beyond a rewarding profession, and it's one of the best professions. And so I think, when I hear young officers saying that, one officer was talking about, like, this was their childhood dream to become a police officer. And so I tell people, when I swear them in, I'm like, if you do this career the correct way, you will do this one time in your life. Nice. Today is going to be one time where you're going to be sworn in. Today's going to come and go. So seize the moment, right? Like, and truly appreciate the moment and what we're here for. Now, again, you're going to have conflict with people. You're going to be aggravated. You're going to come to work one day and be like, oh my God, right? Like, that's just life. Like, it's so, to just get caught up in that constant negativity and that constant, I don't believe in that. I'm very optimistic.
It's just like I was saying, statistics. The high crime, the violence, the this, that, the other thing, even though that's the first focus,
Yeah.
that's the smallest percent, single digit percent
Yeah.
by statistic. Here's the same thing. You're going to have that bad day.
Oh, God,
Focus
yes.
on the good. Spread the good. Be
Yeah,
a part
and
of the good.
you're gonna have you will have a bad day. I mean, it's but then I guess to me a bad day is relative to what your definition of bad day is, right? For me, it's more of like it's really not a bad day. Like I mean, there's things that I don't appreciate. There's things that I have to deal with, or there's things that are like, I'm not happy with. But then I guess the thing is because there's some consistent messaging to make sure that we do be the best versions of ourselves. And the reason is in this profession, you have to be the best version of yourself because you have community members who are relying on you, who are counting on you, who, are going to have one of the worst days of their lives. And if you're there and you are just not mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in sync, in tune with yourself, you can't give to other people, right? So I think it was really great to see these young officers, and they, 10 new officers. They're here at the department. They have to go to the police academy starting in August. So here comes the ride, and I told them enjoy it, right? Because it's a quick ride, and when you get to the end, you're gonna be like, wow, there was some bumps in the road, but man, a majority of the time it went by really quick, and and it was awesome, right?
Yeah.
It was great.
I got a few screen comments if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
sure.
All right, Hector Soto says, Chief,
Yes.
can you please remind Officer Henke to give me
A
to
call?
call me, please?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell him.
Just-
All right,
and
I'll
then-
remind myself.
There you go. Elgin Township from Jeanette Mahalik. I hope I
Yeah,
said
she's
it right.
great. Yep.
With each new crop of officers recruited, the Elgin PD not only becomes more in touch with the unique needs of our community, but better in addressing them. So proud.
Thank you. She's awesome. Yeah.
Right? And we had another person say, in fact, Dennis Green says, you
Yeah.
are absolutely right. Each new class brings something new to the EPD. They truly represent Elgin.
Yeah, and that the funny thing too is when you I swear them in, and thank you guys for the comments and Hector,
Support
good
of the
morning,
community.
and William, hello, and everyone, thank you guys. I truly appreciate the support and the engagement. But it's I tell them when I meet them before I swear them in, and so I have like this 2-hour long conversation with them. Expectations, I keep it. I don't go too in depth, right? Because I don't want to scare them away. But I tell them, hey, this department, it's a high expectations, and the community deserves that. That's it. It's as simple as that. And and I also tell them, you're going to go up there. I'm going to swear you in, and then you're going to stand up at a podium, and you're going to say a few words, and they're like in shock, like I have to now talk. Like, yes, welcome to the Elgin Police Department. Yes,
It's your time.
Well, welcome to the Elgin Police Department. Like, you're going to go up there and you're going to show people who you are, because people want to know who the officer is. What do you believe? What do you think? Now, I don't want a 5-minute speech, right? Like, you got to, we'll edit that a little bit, but enough where people say, first, it's an opportunity to thank people publicly who have supported you, whether it's your family, your spouse, your friends, your colleagues. But the other part of it is to, say to the community, here I am, right? And when you say, I want to take care of the community, and I like, that is such I always say the community loves the officers, right? And even people that have problems with us, or when I say problems, people that maybe are not happy with some things, they're still very respectful, right? And that gives us the opportunity to fix some stuff. But I go, you guys are going to be like rock stars. They're going to love you. We're going to put your picture out on Facebook, and people are going to just say, I go, and that is because of the people that are here now and who have done some really hard work.
Gives them a snapshot, really, of their spirit,
Yes.
what they're going to represent,
Yes.
what they're going to be as an officer.
Yes.
A couple of minutes. They see your face. They see
Yeah.
you getting sworn in. But to be able to hear really what you're going to try and do, at least,
Yep.
what you think your vision is for right now, which could change.
Yeah.
And
But
that's a
you
good
got to
thing.
start. You have to start somewhere. And one of the things too that I mentioned, there was and I don't know where I read it, but I used it in my speech, and it was, that your opportunities, don't make appointments with people.
Yeah.
Right. So when your opportunity knocks, you got to be ready, and you got to be
Grasp it.
ready to embrace it, which means continue to be positive, continue to be optimistic, continue to gain knowledge, continue to be curious, continue to do all these things so that one day when the opportunity comes knocking, you don't miss the great opportunity. So So with that, I know we're done. We have National Night coming out. We have a couple events coming out. Check us out on Facebook. I know Sergeant Gutierrez was here last week. We're trying to push to 100,000 followers on Facebook, so I don't know what he's got in the works, but Hector is amazing, so I'm sure he's going to get it done. But I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Very good. Thank you very much, Chief Anna Lally. And that will complete our segment for today of Fridays with the Finest. We'll catch you next week right here, WRMN 1410.